Alright, time to sit down and finally review Berserk. I can't wait to dive into this. How dark can it be, right?
2 hours later.
Fuck! That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Manga Mondays, the weekly segment where I choose one manga and I review it. This week I am covering the much beloved Berserk. And, whoo, boy, Berserk delivers in spades. You guys weren't kidding. Now, today I'm just covering the prologue, which is the first 3 volumes of this manga. And I'm telling you right now, if you are not a fan of gore, violence, all that type of stuff, this is probably going to be a pass for you, a very solid pass. You see this little sticker right there? It says parental advisory. It earns it. The story centers around the character of Guts, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. Guts, not the most likable protagonist. In fact, within the first few chapters of this manga, I was actually questioning myself, do I really like Guts? But I urge you guys to look deeper into what is going on. I urge you guys to examine the art and the panels because they are telling the story of this character more so than the words, because Guts is a man of very few words throughout this entire first arc. Guts is known in this world as the Black Swordsman who wields a very giant sword made out of iron. Seriously, this thing is pretty much just a bridge with a stick at the end of it. This thing is huge, and he wields it very proficiently. At the start of the story, Guts is wandering around. He's basically your stereotypical wandering loner. He doesn't like people. In fact, he pretty much sums up his feelings for people by saying, look, if you can't defend yourself, then you're just weak, and you pretty much have no purpose in life. Not exactly the greatest character that you want to follow throughout this series, but there is a lot more going on underneath the surface. Guts has this brand on the side of his neck that actually draws demons towards him. It kind of sucks for the guy because he even comments on it in the manga that he tries to get some sleep and they still come after him. So the guy really is exhausted at this point, and he's been fighting this battle for a very long time. However, he soon comes upon this little elf called Puck. Puck is a much needed character, and I mean this, he really is needed in this series simply because Puck is kind of the comical relief. In many ways, he lightens the mood of an otherwise super bleak manga. I'm dead serious. This is probably one of the darkest mangas that I have ever read, and I've read some pretty dark shit. Eventually his interactions with the character of Puck and various other side characters that I won't be spoiling here simply because I really do think you guys will benefit this if you go in as cold as possible, leads him to the Count. The Count in many ways is a character that at first you think this guy is a bastard. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most horrible villains that I have ever seen in a manga. However, what I find really interesting is just how well Kentaro Miura, the author of this manga series, subverts your expectations, because for 3 volumes you keep thinking this Count guy is an asshole, he is a terrible being, he really is just out for himself, he pretty much locks up his daughter in this tower, kind of a stereotypical trope, but you know. And once you get to the end of the 3rd volume, you find out what's actually going on and why the Count is the way that he is, and it pulls the rug underneath you, quite literally, in a lot of ways, and you start feeling really sympathetic for the guy. I ended up really kind of siding with him in certain ways. I was like, wow, I can kind of see why you would choose the path you chose considering everything that's happened in your life. And that's what I really dug about this, is that in the first 3 volumes alone, the author is subverting your expectations in ways that I really did not see coming. There are a few twists and turns in here that really threw me off guard, especially one involving a little girl where you think, oh, a little girl, she's gonna be safe, she's gonna be fine. No, dead. For you video game fans out there, for years and years I've been reading about how much influence the series Dark Souls takes from this manga, and hands down, in the first 3 chapters alone, you definitely see it. Just in the backgrounds involving the structure of the city and the character designs and the armor designs, things like that, you can see right off the bat just how much Dark Souls cribs from this series, and I loved it. I loved it for that reason, considering that Dark Souls is one of my favorite series in video games of all time, so that's just an added cherry on top for me. The art in this is phenomenal. Seriously, it is spectacular how well this is drawn. I've been binging a lot of manga lately, and with the exception of Vagabond, I'm going to say this is probably the best manga art that I think I've ever seen. It is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And the fact is that he crams so much into so little space that I am genuinely impressed, and I tip my hat to the author in this, because it really is just a work of art how well he is able to illustrate every single panel, how well he kind of has this movie style feel to him, where every single panel leads into the next panel and every single panel flows just perfectly well. And there are so many great battle scenes in here. Let me tell you, if you are a fan of action scenes, if you are a fan of over-the-top blood and gore and monsters, this is the book for you. I mentioned earlier how much I love the character designs of this manga, and I stand by that. They are some of the most creative and most inventive characters that I think I've seen in a manga or even in a comic book in a really long time. The horror elements here are very strong in those characters, I'm not gonna lie. That's why I am advising you, if you are not somebody that can handle blood, guts, and gore, and you are very squeamish, you don't want this. There are certain moments in here involving characters with weird looking faces that made me genuinely have kind of a stomach churning experience. Now, I'm not going to ruin anything else in this manga because it would be a travesty. I haven't even talked about the character of Griffin, but I will say that if you love gore, if you love horror, if you love great action scenes, this is a buy. I rate my books on a pass, borrow, buy perfect scale. It's hands down a buy. If you're not a fan of those things, you might want to give this one a borrow. Rent it at your local library, see if it's for you. But damn, is it really that good. There you have it, guys. That's my review for Berserk. Hands down, one of the best mangas I've read, and I'm only 3 volumes into it. Can't wait to read the rest of it. With that said, if you want to support this channel, Patreon is found down below. For as little as $1 a month, you get some exclusive videos. And you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. It's going to be found in the description as well. Let me know in the comments section what you thought of Berserk. And of course, I love you guys. Have a great week.